Camera. Okay.
You're on candid camera.
Check that. Is this light okay for me?
Chepe, you really
Are you
Yes.
ready for my close-up?
And we just got that. For posterity.
I have goodies for you guys.
Goodies.
It's colorful.
Full
Pass
color,
those
yeah.
around. Yeah, it's nice
Oh,
being
wow.
able to, steal labor from work. So,
Whoa.
Is this what happens once you're big shot?
yeah, big shot. Yeah, I'm an elementary teacher. Okay. I guess I know most people here. I can do the little intro bit, I guess, for the benefit of the camera. I'm Joseph Chepe Lockett. This does not mean I belong to the mafia or anything like that. It's my nickname. I'm a Rice alum. I was Hanson, but I became a Baker Associate as fast as I could. I've been involved in some capacity with every Baker Shakespeare since 1988. And Baker Shake, the first Baker Shake happened when I was 1 year old. So Baker and Shake and I are both celebrating 40th productions, whatever, this year. You may all mock me in January.
You're over the hill.
Yes, not yet. On January 28th.
I'm
Okay.
preparing you.
I ran off a copy of last year's Measure for Measure pitch, which some people liked, if you want to talk about that. But my primary interest is in talking about the Tempest. So you've got sort of takeaway there. I'll toss in a few high points. I think the Tempest makes a grand play for 40th anniversary stuff here because it is hugely popular and is a great piece of showmanship. It's got lots of music, opportunities for dance, sort of magic, romance, drama, danger, monsters, etc. As an amusing historical note, the shipwreck, which scholars think inspired Shakespeare to write The Tempest, happened 400 years ago this year, in 1609. So 400 years ago, Tempest shipwreck, 40 years ago, Baker Shake. You can have a little numerological fun with your publicity. Impossible. Okay, in any case, I like The Tempest. It is one of that breed of Shakespeare plays called romance, which I'm particularly fond of. As anybody who looks at my... Oh, I didn't bring any copies of my artistic resume, which I probably should remember to do, but they're on the same website as everything else if you want to go look there. Did I put it on? Yeah, go to that place except cut the Tempest-2009.pdf off the front, just the biz on the end, and you'll see my artistic resume on there with things I've done in case you want to see and
What am I
haven't been around to it.
Tempest minus 2009.
Right. Sometimes I come in with a sort of grand philosophical struggle in mind for a play. I did that with, Winter's Tale or Midsummer Night's Dream. With The Tempest, I think it's a grand story, but there are a few aspects of that story that I'd like to bring out more than others. One of those, when I read The Tempest, what's interesting to me is, nowadays with sort of modern fantasy novels, network TV with digital special effects, role-playing games, whatever, we're on the sort of wave, boom, boom school of magic, fireball, whatever. Whereas The Tempest really shows this older school of magic, where magic happens by manipulating spirits. And I'd really like to see a production, I never have, which really plays that up. To me, that is visually interesting on stage, and it gives a lot of potential for bringing in new people, folks to take mainly physical roles on stage. You could double cast some things, perhaps, but if Prospero freezes somebody in place, it's because there's spirits holding on to him. If he drives somebody mad, it's because the spirits are messing with their perceptions. To really give this idea of him as a wizard, not because of anything within himself, but because of his control of the elements around him. He sort of got obsessed with this other world at the expense of the real world, which is how he lost his dukedom. So I think some fun with costuming. Spirits, Ariel, I'd love to sort of be captain of this sort of fairy band, so to speak. I'm not turning Ariel into Puck, but adds a lot more fun, and I think makes a more reasonable lead up to that weird mask scene in the middle with Iris and Ceres and all those guys, which can sort of come out of left field. Okay, what the heck? This is the part for all the nobles to sort of, grin at. I don't know. What do you do with it? I think if you've seen spirits all along. Now them putting on a public show is good. It also, to me, solves one of the real issues. Tempest has one of the largest chunks of exposition of any Shakespearean play. Most of Act 1, Scene 2 is Prospero saying, well, let me tell you what happened 12 years ago, and laying out the whole dukedom, how Miranda got here, who Caliban is, all that sort of jazz. And it's got this real problem in that there are lines in there. Prospero talks. He says, Miranda, you paying attention? Oh, yes, Father. You're not paying attention? Yes, I am. Well, you either make Prospero a really boring-ass fuddy-duddy, which is not good for his speech, or you make Miranda kind of a ditzy teenager, and my God, I can't pay attention to long stretches of exposition, which isn't good for her character either. I think if Prospero brings in the spirits to help him almost do a sort of mini-mask, if you would, telling the story. If you actually costume Alonzo and all those guys after the shipwreck. Do you guys know the play? I guess I'm assuming that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They do the shipwreck scene in 1-1, stick them in spirit costumes, bring him in. As Prospero brings him in, you can actually sort of, have him sort of unveil them, move aside your mask, whatever. Let's give this spirit the face of Alonzo. Well, it's because it's the same actor as Alonzo. But, as actors, audience will just believe he's making it look like Alonzo. You can retell the story on stage, which I think makes it clearer for audiences, which is great for if you're going to bring in high school audiences or things like that, for example. Gives actors who are in smaller roles something fun to do, makes it visually interesting, and explains why Miranda's a little bit distracted because there's a heck of a lot of stuff going on. You could play with the idea maybe of Miranda being able to spot some spirits before they become visible, take some physical acting playing with that, but that sort of leads into, I think Miranda gets played as sort of a naive teenager a lot. And there's a certain amount of naivete there. I mean, she's been alone on an island with her father and a monster and a bunch of invisible spirits for all her life. But she's been there with one of the most well-educated guys in the world for 14 years, 12 years. I think he's had nothing to do probably but teach her. I think Miranda is like every Rice guy's dream girl. She's gorgeous. She's absolutely, intelligent. She's spunky. I mean, I think Miranda should be I think she's one of the smartest, coolest people in play. I don't know, but I like strong Shakespearean women. You know that about me too, probably. A lot of people play the Tempest as kind of this grand, Prospero has everything in mind from the beginning and sets all the pieces into motion and the play runs like clockwork. Boring. I think if a romance is a journey towards forgiveness, which most of them tend to be, that you have to journey there. You can't start there from the beginning. You can't be planning everything. And if Ariel's line, mine affections towards them would go tender, were I human, I think that may be the line that calls Prospero back. I think you should really believe at the beginning he's planning to do some people in order to get back at them. Maybe sort of turn Ferdinand into this Stepford husband for Miranda, something like that. I think the play needs to be a process of discovery rather than a preordained, foregone conclusion. And I think The Tempest is interesting as a romance in that in a lot of the other ones, and I've done Winter's Tale and Cymbeline, both for Baker Shake in the past. Winter's Tale in 97, I guess it is. Cymbeline just a couple years ago. What was that, 2005?
Huh?
When was
I thought
Cymbeline?
Cymbeline was 2006.
Six. It's not necessarily made absolutely clear that everybody takes the forgiveness that's offered. What happens to Caliban? Productions have done a lot with that over the years. Some people have had him sort of shaking his fist at the ship as it goes over the horizon. Other people have him going off with everybody off to Milan. I don't know how he'll get along there. There was an RSC production where they sort of did it very British colonial. And after everybody left, Ariel sort of picked up the staff, and you could tell he was going to be the guy who started, ruling the island once all these other guys were gone, and Caliban was still going to be stuck with it. What happens to these people afterwards? It's inspired sequels and adaptations and so forth.